Okay. Okay, this is experiment number 10 ma. Okay, aim. Okay, all of you, okay, if you have got any notebook nearby, okay, you can note down what is, okay, experiment number 10, aim. To study the mitosis in a onion root tip by temporary mounting. Totally 19 experiments are there now. This is experiment number 10.
Sir,
Okay, here aim is missing. Aim is mentioned as to study the mitosis in a onion root tip by temporary mounting on a slide. By temporary mounting on a slide. And next requirements. Next side heading requirements. Onion with freshly grown roots. Onion with freshly grown roots. Next glass slide. Dropper. Dropper. Microscope. Glycerin. Glycerin, etc. Next slide heading procedure. Under procedure, you can write this one: preparation and study of slide. Preparation and study of slide. Under procedure, you have to write preparation and study of slide. Okay, now preparation and study of slide. And next, okay, all these points, total 11 points are there. That one you can write. And next, observation. For this observation, writing part has to be done on the right side only. For this experiment, observation you do on the right side and the diagrams only on the left side. You can see, okay, whatever the state. For example, if you are writing interface diagram should be on the left side, beside the interface. Next, prophase diagrams you have to draw. Next, metaphase diagrams you have to draw. And next, anaphase, telophase, cytokinesis. So whatever you are writing, the observation concerned diagram should be on the left side. Here the observation has to be written. I told you to write only one method. In third experiment, I told you to write only one method. Okay. The other method is striken off. No. Striken off means it is not required. Only the method that is not striken off. Method 1 or method 2. I can't remember properly. The third experiments may be method 2, I think so. Method 2.
Method 2 only cancel. Method 2 only cancel.
Method 2 only you have to write. So whatever that is asked to write, only that method only. That method only will do in the lab also. So for this experiment alone, okay, you have to write the observation on the right side. Diagrams has to be drawn on the left side concerned to that topic. That means if you are writing interface, on beside that interface diagram. If you are writing prophase diagram on the left side. Prophase on the right side, matter, and a diagram on the left side. If you are writing anaphase, you have to write on the right side and a diagram on the left side. Okay, you should not draw in different pages. All they should be concerned with one to the another one, side by side. Okay, now, and next, after writing the cytokinesis, finally the result and precautions. Okay, that is. Understand? Okay, this is a little bit big experiments. So I will give you 2 days. Today and tomorrow you complete this experiment. Okay, Wednesday will Wednesday all of you come along with the biology record. I will observe all of you your records on Wednesday. You have to on your video and you have to show your records. Okay, up to 10 experiments. You have to complete up to 10 experiments. On Wednesday, I will check all your records. You have to on your video and you have to show your records. Understand up to what I have told you to. Okay, now. After the class, I will share this experiment. Okay, that is. And next, anybody is having any doubt in the record?
No.
Okay. And next, coming to the topic. Okay, and we are discussing about the population attributes. In that, there are 2 main concepts related to population attributes. Okay, that is an individual organism will be having birth and death, whereas the population is having birth rate and death rate. That means in a particular period of time, how many number of organisms have given birth, that is called as birth rate. And in a particular period of time, how many number of organisms have undergone death, that is called as a death rate. So that is that number of new individuals added to the initial population. The ratio, okay, that means divided by the newly added population to the initial population. That one will give the birth rate. Okay, and how many people, how many organisms have undergone death to the initial population in a particular period of time, that one will give the death rate. Okay, that is. And next, another attribute, characteristic of population is the sex ratio. There is a number of males to the females or number of females to the males. So an attribute characteristic of a population is the sex ratio, because in animals we'll find both male and female separately mostly. Only a few are exceptions. So that the sex ratio has to be maintained. Then only the population can be maintained. So that is a sex ratio. An individual is either a male or a female, but a population has a sex ratio. Okay, that means an individual may be male or female, but the population has a sex ratio. Okay, that is, for example, you can see 60% of the population are females and 40% are males. So here the sex ratio is 40:60. Males to the females. 60% of the population are females and 40% of the population are males. Okay, that is, a population at any given time is composed of individuals of different ages. Okay, when you observe here, the main problem with the human is the sex ratio. Okay, that why? Because of a female foeticide. Okay, what happened? There is a lot of difference has been observed between a male to the female ratio. For 1,000 males, only 864 females are present. If this is continued, it will be a problem in the future. Some males will not have females to get married. They'll remain as bachelors only, because of the difference in the sex ratio. There is, okay. And next, and along with that, a population at any given time is composed of individuals of different ages. That means different people will be there, or different organisms will be there, because here we are taking into consideration the sexual reproduction. Any organism, before it is it has the ability to undergo sexual reproduction, that is pre-reproductive age. And when it is undergoing sexual reproduction, it is called reproductive age. And the period after the organism cannot undergo sexual reproduction, that period we are calling it as a post-reproductive age. So we have got the pre-reproductive age, reproductive age, and post-reproductive age. Here in case of human, we consider the females. The age of the female is considered as the reproductive age. So below 12 years or 13 years, we can call it as a pre-reproductive age. 13 to 50, we can call it as a reproductive age. 52 till death, we call it as a post-reproductive age. So like this, for any organism which is undergoing sexual reproduction, for all these organisms, they'll have different ages. So if the age distribution percent, individuals of a given age or age group, that means depending upon which age group is more, based on that, whether the population is increasing or decreasing or stable, we can able to understand. Okay, by understanding. Okay, That is, if the age distribution, okay, that is percent individuals of a given age or age group is plotted for the population, the resulting structure is called an age pyramid. So by taking the percent of a different age group of a population, and if you plot a graph, it is looks like a pyramid. That's why it is called as an age pyramid. So for human population, the age pyramid generally show age distribution of males and females in a diagram. So the shape of the pyramids reflects the growth status of the population, whether it is growing, stable, or declining. Okay, here we can see. Okay, here the pre-reproductive age people are more. The pre-reproductive age people are more, and the reproductive age people are considerable number, and post-reproductive age people are less. So here what happens means, as the pre-reproductive age people next converted to reproductive age, so gradually what happened, the population will increase. Because the pre-reproductive people later changes to reproductive people, and they are able to give rise to new individuals. So it leads to expanding population. Okay, India is having more of a reproductive age people. That's why the population is increasing enormous. And next, in China, the population is declining. Why? Because most are post reproductive age people at present in China. Okay, the percentage of reproductive age people and pre-reproductive age people are less in China. That's why there is a decrease in the population in China. Now they are trying to increase the population again. Okay, that is, they are breaking down the restrictions having children. Before they are one or none in China. But now they have removed that restrictions, and they ask to have how many children they want, they can have. Because to increase the pre-reproductive and the reproductive age people incoming, so that they can maintain the population. And next here we can see the pre-reproductive and the reproductive age people are a little bit maintained. So that's why the population is also stable here. But here when you observe the declining, that means here the pre-reproductive age people are very less. Because these pre-reproductive age people only later converted to reproductive age people. So when they come over there, what happens? The population will be gradually decreasing. That is the problem that we are observing in China. This is the condition that is observed in China, the declining, because the pre-reproductive age people are very less, and the reproductive age people are also less. So because of this, the population is declining in China. But here in India, we have got both pre-reproductive and reproductive age people are more. That's why the population is increasing. So that's why by observing this age pyramids, we can able to understand whether the population of a particular organism is increasing or decreasing or stable. Okay, that is. And next, the size of the population tells us a lot about its status in the habitat. The size of the population tells us a lot about its status in the habitat. Whatever ecological process we wish to investigate in a population, be it the outcome of competition with another species, the impact of a predator, or the effect of a pesticide application, we always evaluate them in terms of any change in the population size. That means for example, if a person has introduced a new organism, so how that organism is responding to the environmental changes or responding to that environment, that one we can study with their population. Because that newly added species may compete with the present species, already existing species, and or otherwise that newly species, if the conditions are favorable, it may act as a predator and kills the present already existing species. And next we can also study the effect of different pesticides on the organisms, how this affecting the population size. Okay, that is the size in nature could be as low as less than 10 Siberian cranes at Bharatpur wetlands in any year, or go into millions like chlamydomonas in a pond. Okay, that means the size may varies from organism to another organism. Mostly if the organism is larger in size, the number might be less. If the organism is smaller in size, the that is minute in nature, okay, the number of organisms may be more. So here the the size. So population size is technically called population density, which is designated as N, capital N, need not necessarily be measured in numbers only. Okay, population density is always not measured in a number. Sometimes we can go with volume. Sometimes we can go with the size. Okay, but among this, among volume, size, and all that, the number is more appropriate. Although the total number is generally the most appropriate measure of population density, it is in some cases either meaningless or difficult to determine. Okay, for example, here one example is given. In an area, if there are 200 carrot grass, okay, grass plants like Parthenium, Hysterophorus, already we have studied now. Okay, carrot grass which came to India as a contaminant along with the wheat seeds from America. And the pollen grains of this plant are allergic, causing asthma and bronchitis. So that carrot grass, there are 200 carrot grass in an area, but only a single huge banyan tree with a large canopy, stating that the population density of banyan is low relative to that of carrot grass amount, to underestimating the enormous role of banyan in that community. Okay, that is there are 200 carrot grass plants are there, but only one banyan tree in that area with a large, it's a big tree with a large canopy. That means like a expanded like an umbrella like. Then, okay, which is important in that area means we say banyan tree only because of its ecological role, because different types of organisms will reside on that single banyan tree, which cannot be observed in a 200 carrot grass plants. Okay, different types of animals, okay, like birds, lizards, okay, mammals, epiphytes, some plants which are growing on the branches of those, and some will be growing near the shade of that banyan tree. Okay, so that is a single banyan tree is having a large ecological role. So we can't say that banyan tree single banyan tree is of waste, but it is having an underestimating enormous role of banyan in that community when compared to the carrot grass. In such cases, the percent cover or biomass is a more meaningful measure of the population size. So in that case, what we can take into consideration to study the population density means here we'll take the biomass, the amount of biomass that is added by that population in that ecosystem for a year. That one we can take it to, that one will be a meaningful. So always a number is not determining the population density. Some other factors also we can take into consideration so that we can understand the the role of that organism in that community. Okay, that is total number is again not an easily adaptable measure if the population is huge and counting is impossible or very time consuming. Okay, for example, if you want to study the population density of a microscopic algae like a chlamydomonas which are growing in a pond. Okay, huge number of chlamydomonas. It is very difficult to count all the algae that are present in that pond. And it is also time consuming and waste. So if you have a dense laboratory culture of bacteria in a petri dish, what is the best measure to report its density? Okay. Then, okay, like chlamydomonas or some bacteria which are growing in a laboratory in a petri dish. Then how we can able to, for example, I have given you a blood sample and I asked you to count the number of RBC that are present in that blood. Okay, what you will do? You will take all, okay, okay, if I ask you to calculate the number of RBC in the human blood of a person, I gave one person and I asked you to calculate the number of RBC in that blood, in the body of that person. What you will do? You'll take it all the blood, you'll take all the blood from that person and you will calculate one by one. That is impossible, no. Then what we'll do? We'll take a small blood sample, small amount of blood from that person, and we'll make a smear and we'll calculate for cubic millimeter. Okay, that is per cubic millimeter. That means per cubic millimeter, this many RBC are present, and in your body, this much amount of blood is there. So into that cubic millimeter, we can get the number of RBC that are present in that person. So every time counting of all the cells are out, all the number of organisms is not possible. So in that case, what we'll do means we'll make a small sample, and in that small sample, how many number are present, that one will be magnified to the total number multiplied with the total volume. Okay, like that. So in a petri dish also the same. Okay, in a cubic millimeter size, how many bacteria are present? So we'll add, okay, we'll use that one to the size of that petri dish. For example, if a petri dish is around 5 centimeters, okay, perimeter. Five centimeters, okay, 5 centimeters square, okay, perimeter. In that, in 1 millimeter, okay, this many bacteria are present. So in that 5 millimeter, 5 centimeter, how many bacteria will be there, will multiply. That one will give the total number of bacteria that are present in the, okay, that one will give the density. Sometimes for certain ecological investigations, there is no need to know the absolute population density. Okay. Relative densities serve the purpose equally well. So relative density, that means, okay, in one, okay, for example, okay, if you want to calculate the for a year, here, okay, in a year, how many number of organisms were added in a particular area? Okay, so if, okay, throughout the year, we don't calculate. Initially, there are some 60 organisms are there. So in 1 month, okay, around 5 organisms were added. So what we'll do, we'll multiply with the 12. That one will give the year. So 12 5 60. So there are totally 60 individuals are there. By the end of 1 year, we'll get 120 individuals. So here what we'll do means we don't take it into the total number of organisms that are grown in that year. We'll go with relative. Relative means when compared with the other one. So we'll compare with 1 year, 1 month. In 1 month, these are produced. So in 1 year, this might be the possible. So like that, relative densities also can be taken into consideration to calculate the population density. Okay, for example, here it is given. Okay, one time the fisherman went to the catching the fish in a ocean or in a sea. Okay, in one trap he has he caught hold of some number of fishes. Then what he can understand, okay, this much area is there. So in this area, these many fishes might be present. So like that, he is able to understand the organisms. So that's what we can understand here. Sometimes, okay, that's what. For okay, sometimes for certain ecological investigation, there is no need to know the absolute population densities. Relative densities serve the purpose equally well. For instance, the number of fish caught per trap is good enough measure of its total population density in the lake. We are mostly obliged to estimate population sizes indirectly without actually counting them or seeing them. So here what we can understand the population density instead of instead of counting all the organisms by relative densities itself only, we are able to estimate the number of organisms that are present in that area. Okay, for example, the tiger census in our national park and tiger reserves is often based on pug marks and fecal pellets because every tiger will be having a different shape of its paw. By using this pug marks, that means the mark of the paw, okay, the size, shape, and the depth, okay, all they will be taken into consideration. And by using the pug marks and fecal pellets, they are able to count the number of tigers that are present in that area. Okay, these are the some of the attributes of the population. That is birth rate, death rate, sex ratio, and population density. And how the population density is calculated for a different organisms. That one we can understand here. Okay, ma. Anybody is having any doubt here?